Well, welcome everybody to our first Hal Leonard Choral Spectrum Live event. We are so happy you're here today. I'm Stacy Nordmeyer. I'm the General Manager of Choral Publications here at Hal Leonard. With me today, we have our Creative Director, Luke Talen, along with
Hello,
Senior
everyone.
Marketing Coordinator, Brittany Ball, running behind the scenes for us, along with Clinic Coordinator, Melissa Hardkey, and our very special guests, Roger Emerson and Sophia Miller. Thank you all so much for being here today. As we get started, folks, if you would just drop a hello for us into the chat. You're doing that already. That's great. Let us know where you're from. Let us know what level you teach. We assume that most of you are teaching middle school, but we'd like to know if you teach other levels as well. Also, just to let you know, today we are running a special code. You'll see that up on the chat screen. For anything that you see today, we are running a 20% off discount, with free shipping. So
Use it.
As we, take advantage of that. So without any further ado, I'd like to bring it over to Roger Emerson. Roger is a composer and arranger. He's an educator with over 900 choral titles in print, 30 million copies in circulation, one of the most popular choral music arrangers today. Let's give him a warm welcome. Hello, Roger.
Oh, thanks,
Roger.
Thank you, Stacy. Well, if you keep doing this long enough, those numbers will add up. Sort of like hamburgers. McDonald's used to say how many hamburgers. So, no, it really is. It's a treat to be here. I consider it a privilege to be able to share with you. I'm wearing my sort of Hawaiian outfit today to celebrate summer. And I know, particularly if you teach middle school, no one needs a break more than you do. And I hope you have a wonderful one. But thank you for tuning in. And I think you're going to get some food for thought and some resources with today's workshop. And I'm delighted to share with you. As you probably know, working with changing voices has sort of been my lifelong pursuit. Having taught middle school for a total of probably almost 20 years. And yeah, I know it looks like it, right? I spent 20 years with middle school kids, but it was a real joy. Once I got things figured out, I got to admit those first few years were really rugged. But I started writing for my own kids and found some success using certain parameters. And so we'll share some of those things with you. But Brittany, if you're ready, let's go ahead and put up that little PowerPoint. And we're going to sort of run through it here real quickly. Sort of a lightning round. This normally takes 45 minutes. We're going to do it in 15. So this is helping tenor basses find their voice. And as Christy Miller would say, helping them find their ears, which sometimes is less intimidating. So something to think about. So painlessly, perhaps. Next up, what does every teacher want? Next, I'll tell you. Well, okay. Besides this, how about this? Boys, as many as we can get, or boys who match pitch and sing. That's even better. And how about next? So the problem is that we really have this sort of disparity, I guess is a better word, between our soprano altos who have sort of been singing all the way through the elementary grades. But boys oftentimes shut down. They don't think it's cool, so they don't use their voice. So it's not just that their vocal folds are getting thicker, but they haven't used it. So you get them in your choir, and of course, your job is to make it fun and cool so they stay singing. Yeah, the next one. So where do we begin? Again, I sort of alluded to this, but kids who sing in grades 3 through 5 or K5 do not have a problem in grades 6, 8. So if you're teaching middle school, everything that you can do to foster that K4, K5 singing experience. We used to, when we were teaching, our school was K8, so I was my own feeder. But we'd put on all school level musicals in the primary grades, so every kid sang. So next slide, please. After I stopped teaching the second time, we hired a really great guy, but he was primarily a band teacher. But he really wanted to do well. But oftentimes I'd get a phone call and say, Roger, can you come work with with my guys, with my tenor basses. So I'd go down to the school and for 45 minutes, go to a separate room and get his dozen 7th and 8th grade guys out of 60 in the chorus. And out of that dozen, I'd have probably 8 who were fine. They match pitch in a moderate range. Those other 4 could be all over the place. And so oftentimes I would basically create what I did here in the pop warm-ups and workouts for tenor bass. So let's go to the next slide there, Brittany, please. So one of the things I would do is I would sit at the keyboard and I would take some simple melodic riffs like shake, rattle, and roll, shake, rattle, and roll. And I'd move it around the keyboard until I found the place that the bulk of them could match pitch. Oftentimes, that was about G below middle C. So even if they were still sort of a boy alto, that would be the very bottom of their range. It would be right in the middle for what we call the mid voice. And it would still work for the voice that had completely changed. So I picked some songs, We Will Rock You, Na Na, Hey Hey Goodbye, Mission Impossible, and put them into a book.
Shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll.
Vowel. Good. Keep going. Thank you.
Jump. You gotta jump, jive. Then 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 you away.
Breath.
Na 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 na. Hey hey hey, goodbye. Na 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 na. Hey hey hey, goodbye.
So each exercise starts at G below middle C and works upward. Then the same exercise, shake, rattle, and roll, will go down by half steps. Shake, rattle, and roll, shake, rattle, and roll. So ultimately, you end up with 2 octaves. Now, they're not going to get that, but you can at least work there, and you're going to find that each group of your kids will resonate in certain groups of probably 6 notes. If you follow John Cooksey at all, you will see his various classifications. I believe there's a total of 6, where he starts where the tessitura of the male voice in like normally the 5th grade or so is about middle C to A, about a 6th. Then the next step of the change is like A below middle C to F, and then about 4 weeks later it'll be F to D, and then it will drop some D to B, and ultimately C will probably bottom out at about C. And that takes place over about 20 weeks. So this just helps facilitate it. So what's next? Let's go to the next slide. Notice that most warm-ups, where do they start? They start on middle C. Well, that might work for a few notes. Mi, ma, mo, mi, ma, mo, ma, boo, mi, ma, mo, ma, moo, mi, ma, mo, ma, moo. Then they go, mi, ma, mo. You've got to do the octave inversion. So that's why I started with G and sort of worked up and worked down. So the other thing is that on the audio, we have a sort of a young baritone, so that you can actually, particularly if you're a female, and even though you might have a G or F below middle C, the timbre is different. They actually get to hear, because so much of it is, as Christy says, finding their ears. Next slide, please. So one of the things, particularly if you're dealing with students for the first time, they're intimidated with, I want to say, individual voice testing. So one of the things that you can do is you can have this MP3, any one of them, on as the kids enter the room. It'll get focus, and it says we're singing from the get-go. And the soprano altos will go ahead and sing up the octave. They always sort of do. They seem to find it. Although these days with Billie Eilish down there, they might sing it where the guys are. But it allows you to move around the choir, listening for voices that need one-on-one coaching, because at some point in time, you might need to do that. Next slide, please. Some other things you can do. You can have the students say their name, like Roger, Roger, Ra, Ra, Roger. I just happen to be an F there. See if they can sustain the sound of their first name. Have them sigh. Ah. Singing is merely a sustained sigh. Big breath. Ah. Settle out. Ah. 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 Start the exercise on that note and move up. Word, wind, up here, shake, rattle, and roll. There I'm starting on an F instead of a G. Make sure they're using the breath, because oftentimes they're not. They're just singing with residual air. Lip buzzes are one of the best things to get them to make sure that they are connecting with air. You can't do it with just, I guess you'd call it intercostal breathing or upper breathing. So if they can take a nice low breath and lip buzz, they are connecting with air, and then just encourage them to continue with that. And there are some things you can do to help. Go to the next slide. I'll see if what comes up next. So I have a few things that sort of work to help them. This is, you can tell it's a trap that you get it like Ace Hardware, and you put it to your ear. You can, don't just give it to one student. Make sure you get enough of them so you can spread it out so everyone gets a chance. And then, say, hey, today is your day to sing the warm-ups using whatever you want to call it, the trap, the black trap. There's another item that looks like that I have here. It's called a tubaloo. Let's see if I can, there it is. Does the same thing. They come in multiple colors. They're on Amazon. I don't know, probably about $5 a piece. It's a great way to get, again, ear connected. Some other things. This is from the Ken Phillips book. Try barking puppy. So if you go a little dog, yip, 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 or a big dog, roof, 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 yip, 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 helps them access that upper voice. Sirens. Woo! You all know that. Video game. Boo, 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 boo. Of course, Mickey Mouse. Ha, ha, ha. Or Mrs. Doubtfire, or Julia Child, any of those. And I love the Teaching Kids to Sing book by Ken Phillips. Unfortunately, it's a textbook and it's expensive, but if you get the first edition, you can usually find those used. So yeah, next slide. So another thing is oftentimes people will say, oh, I do rounds with my singers, but most rounds are an octave or more. And so I said, well, I wonder if I could create maybe, I call it sort of an ostinato or bass line that is, I'm going to say smaller in range, and that could be done in any key, a cappella. So this is rounds plus. So sopranos and altos generally do the traditional round, and then we've created a bit of an ostinato for our tenor basses. And ideally, I like to get them going and say, just keep singing, and then add the round. So let's hear a little bit of the score play.
Hey ho, nobody's home. Hey ho, nobody's home. Hey ho, nobody's home. Eat nor drink nor money have I done. Hey ho, nobody's home. Hey ho, nobody's home. Eat nor drink nor money have I done. Eat nor drink nor money have I done. Hey ho, nobody's home. Hey ho, nobody's home. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Of John.
And you can pick either note here.
Ghost of John. Ghost of John.
Have you seen the ghost of John? Long white Johns with the skin all drawn.
Ghost of John. Ghost of John. Ghost
Would it be chilly with ghost
That's good.
skin
Forget.
on?
You can stop that there. Thanks. And again, I think there are a total of maybe 8 or 10 familiar rounds that we've done the same way. The other thing is realize they're a cappella. So the idea is that you try them in different keys, because realize your group of barittenors will change. I mean, it is a moving target. So the idea is to find at that point in time where I call it the sweet spot, where the bulk of your tenor basses can match pitch. And then, of course, hopefully the chorals that you perform will be in that pocket. The other thing is, at the beginning of the year, and the principal says, hey, could you guys sing something like back to school night, 2 weeks in? This stuff is perfect. Because you go, oh, yeah, pretty cool. And you can throw it together in a couple of rehearsals. So anyway, next slide. I think we actually have a choral here. I sort of made my living, so to speak, and my focus and passion on creating 3-part mixed music for middle school. There are some trade-offs. 3-part mix generally uses the F to D range, which is, I believe, the 3rd level of the voice change. Sometimes it's a little low for some boy altos. Sometimes the D little high for the boys that have moved down to the next change. But if you've got 6, 8, maybe 10 tenor basses and 40 soprano altos, it doesn't take very many to balance. And if you can find a melodic part that fits the bulk of their voices, it's always sort of again, there are trade-offs to everything. And that was a Joyce Eiler's concept, and it's the one that worked for me. And then I basically, utilized it when I started writing back in 1949. Yeah. So let's see the score play of Alleluia, Alleluia. I love this because it's got pure vowels, a lot of repetition. So let's watch the score play. Half of it.
Alleluia, 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 Alle, Alleluia, 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 Alle, Alleluia, 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 Alle, Alleluia, 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 Alle, Alleluia, Alleluia.
I think that's about all that we've got some other pieces, but I think that's about all we have time for. Maybe just is the next one, is that a tenor bass that we might have? Keep them engaged. Of course, that's important. Yeah. And you can always get me at sing678.com. And again, I'll be at the Show Choir Camps of America here this next week and in July, and I'm doing Vandercook the end of July. Please come and see me live, and you can ask those questions like, that doesn't work for my guys. I hope it does. Anyway, I hope that's been helpful, and I'm going to throw it back to you, Stacy. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much, Roger. That was really, really informative. I saw lots of really positive comments. People saying, that's my favorite song, or what a great book, or what a good idea. So thank you for sharing those.
And Roger, of course, loves it when you can contact him at any time, especially 2 a.m. Pacific time. He would love that. Make sure you get your questions into him. He'll get back to you right away.
For sure.
On my phone. See that little red button? Yeah.
Is that the do not disturb? So
Right.
over in the handout section that you will find the slides that Roger presented today, helping tenor basses find their voice. You'll also find slides from Sophia today, I believe. and also a download of our Choral Spectrum brochure. So all of those things are there for you for your reference.
Yes.
Also, I see some of you have found our Q&A section here as well. So as we go through, please drop your questions there.
Oh, yeah.
We'll answer them in chat, or we'll have a little bit of time at the end of our session today for some live Q&A with our special guests. So Sophia is a conductor, clinician, and music educator who currently is serving as artistic director at the Fieldston Choral Society in New York. And prior to that, she spent many years on the artistic team with the Young People's Chorus of New York City. And I know you will love hearing from her. So let's give a great welcome to Sophia Miller.
Sophia.
Yes, Sophia.
Thank you. Thanks, Stacy. Thanks, everybody. I did not, Roger, wear my Hawaiian shirt today. We didn't coordinate, but I celebrate summer nonetheless. I'm based in New York City, and we are still very much in our school year for another few weeks. And I grew up in the Northeast. I thought that was the way of it. And I thought, oh, some people end in the end of May. They start in August. That's odd. And I've really come to learn that we're the odd ones. So we're still very much going strong with our school year here and finishing up. But I'm really thrilled to be here today with all of you and to, talk about, as we do wrap up our school year, wherever you may be, just connecting with one another to connect on making music in your rehearsal spaces, in your classrooms, and most importantly, with your singers. And that's really what I'm here to highlight today, is just that reminder of kind of how it all comes back to the human beings in the room. I have never been one who could easily answer the question, what age do you love to work with the most? I love working with 8, 9, and 10-year-old children. I love working with adults. I have it's multiple adult community choirs that I work with. I love getting people in a room and making amazing music. And I love what each age group brings to that. And I've been very lucky because I was able to find myself a journey, a path of working with across all ages. I have spent most of my career in the children's choir setting, in nonprofit after school scenarios. And, often I have both been reminded, and I remind everyone that I work with, that I'm not in the classroom day to day, and I haven't even spent the majority of my time in the classroom day to day. However, and even though the children that I serve, by and large, are opting in, they are still the children they are at the ages they are, coming from their long school day, bringing their many challenges, bringing their many joys, bringing all of that they bring to the room, regardless of their space they're in. So I just kind of want to hold that up as what is my primary focus, but also what connects us all, regardless of, kind of what our main stage is, so to speak. So I highlight that. I would love to start off in just a moment. We're going to look, Brittany, at our first piece, Water is Wide. I want to start off with just a little singing looking through this arrangement by Rollo Dilworth that is available in SAB and SA. And it's a sort of a mashup, if you will, partner song, really, of Water is Wide with Bring Me Little Water, Sylvie. So let us take a listen through.
Neither have I
Great. Thanks, Brittany. I wanted to give that one an all the way through moment because of the partner song aspect of it. What a brilliant success it can be right from the beginning. I first got to know this piece in its treble arrangement. And as I mentioned, it has an SAB option as well. And I love, I've noticed the chat going by, and several of you are familiar with it and are noticing the incredible harmonies in the piano and the rhythmic underpinning underneath this very lush melody. It's a really, really brilliant arrangement. I also think that it really lends itself beautifully to opportunities in score navigation, in addition to reading. So you might sing for your singers. You might say for your singers before you even. I'm always looking for a paperless moment. I'm definitely going to sprinkle that throughout this presentation today. But in a paperless moment where your children, your singers are not looking at anything yet, and you can sing for them, "Bring me a little water, Sylvie. Bring me a little water." They might not be in a position where when they turn to that page and see that rhythm, they could read it for you. But if you sing it for them first and then say to them, "Could you find me a measure number where you see this rhythm? Bring me a little water, Sylvie." Just that much. They can turn through their pages and identify something in the score that looks like what they just heard. So that is sort of a bit of a reverse moment in, we might not be at the level where I'm going to hand you this and you're going to sight read it, but you can actually identify it, which is just as important and helpful to what we're doing when we're putting together all of the components that make up our building literacy skills. And by the time, and if we start from the beginning, read the "Water is Wide" section, and one of various ways that you could choose to do that. By the time you get to the "Bring Me a Little Water, Sylvie" section, you will be met with success because you teased something that they can look for later down the road. And so that all lends itself to your continued building of their skills without feeling like reading music only means one thing. We are literally able to read every single note and rhythm. We're not going to be able to do that quite yet. We're not there yet. We're building lots and lots of blocks at once. And I think of it a little bit like using Legos of different colors, where you're kind of building a blue tower over here, and maybe the blue tower represents the skills you're building that do allow you to go note for note using certain note values and certain contexts. And then maybe the yellow Lego tower is that which is being led by your ear and sight coming together in a moment like the one I just described. I try to find ways to start with singing, period. And that means in rehearsals, with adults, with children, in a concert, that the first thing that we're going to do is sing something. So with middle school, I often try to find a way that our warm-up can be a sort of fusion of routine and variation, so that there are certain ways in which they are attaching themselves to certain, certain building blocks, and also exploring and experimenting. So, for example, I might have everybody start with a one-note pattern that sounds like this. No. Everybody is on that note. Ready? Try it again. And no. Then I might say, okay, we did that. Maybe we went up by a few half steps. Then we're going to go to a place where I'm going to offer an option. And underneath, I've decided on a chord progression. Maybe I'm playing 1 to the 4 to back to the 1. Maybe I'm playing 1 to 5, 7 to 1. You have options, right? Whatever I've been playing with them, I'm going to say to them, now I'm going to give you a few options for a starting note. And I'm going to ask you to come up with a harmony. So some of you are going to stay here and you're going to sing the same no. Some of you are going to opt for this note as your starting note. Some of you can opt for this note as your starting note. And if they need to adjust their octave, they can do that too. So now I have no, no, no. Let's see what happens. And I'll cue them through it. No. As one example of what the upper note might choose. I find this to be a really interesting and fun and creative and full of discovery moment for me and them. It teaches me what they're hearing, and it teaches them about decision making. So in some cases, I just did this a couple of weeks ago. For a few days in a row, I really got into this whole sort of improvisatory chord building warm-up, where there were a couple of moments where in the alto section, the altos were choosing a few different journeys with their harmony. And I started to say, okay, I'm hearing you altos. I'm also hearing that some of you are really kind of insisting on this and others are insisting on this. They're both good ideas, but are they good ideas together? Why don't all of our sections make a circle within yourselves? So I circled up the sections. I said, great, now do a lot of listening this time and decide collectively, without talking about it, we're just going to keep singing this warm-up, decide collectively what your section is singing today. Tomorrow, perhaps it'll be a different idea, but it kind of gives them an opportunity for using their ears, hearing harmonies, hearing relationships, making decisions, taking agency. We do an awful lot of decision making for them. That's the nature of what we're doing. A lot of our music is written on the page. Most of our music is written on the page. And those decisions have already been made for them. So I really like to find ways that they can start to do the decision making. And one of the groups of people who make those decisions for us are the composers and arrangers of the pieces that we choose. I'd like to look at another piece by Christy Miller. She is the decision maker here in this moment, where she put together an arrangement of Where the North Wind Blows, which is an Irish melody. And kind of coming off of that idea of the improvisatory chordal warm-up as well, I find too that when they start to put things into context, they're discovering that they understand the relationships of where their note fits into the chord, what their function is in the chord, all those sorts of things. So that's something that as we then move into it, I might do that warm-up and really make sure I strategize, what piece am I now going to start with, or what piece am I going to come out of that warm-up with that maybe has that same inversion of that same chord I've selected for them. Picking the starting notes feels helpful, and eventually you might get to a place where you don't have to pick their starting notes for them in that improvisatory warm-up. But if you are then moving into a piece that starts in that same, in a second inversion chord, then it's a great way to put their ear around that sound. So let's take a look at a bit of Where the North Wind Blows, please.
The winter moon is on aglow as winter chills begin to blow, and dark of night, the snow that falls a wondrous sight. The stars that twinkle in the sky, they seem to charm and mystify, and in the air a tale begins, the story told within the winds.
Pause that one. Oh, beautiful. Yeah, so that one really explores some of that chordal, some of those, though it starts to kind of get into that a little bit more as the piece goes on, and also incorporates a lot of different sort of effects of some canon work that, particularly between sopranos and altos in that piece, that also is a beautifully accessible way into some harmonic spaces as well. Speaking of the north wind blowing, let's do a little bit of a breath work. The title is Where the North Wind Blows. I'm seeing that in the chat. That is Where the North Wind Blows. Christy Carey Miller is the arranger. So yeah, I want to explore a little bit of breath work. We often reserve breath work for the beginning of rehearsal only, and in the style of preparing to sing. And I really like to breathe for the sake of breathing. And I especially like it with middle schoolers because it starts to incorporate a sense of presence and mindfulness and a reminder of your breath. And that's what I'm kind of all about in any space, is just what is the routine building that not only is building a routine, but adding something to the culture of the space that we're in. So we're going to always focus on breathing for the purpose of singing, which is very important. But today I want to think about, for the next couple minutes, breathing for the purpose of breathing. And I'm going to offer you a moment to sit or stand as you feel comfortable. If you are comfortable standing, then go ahead and stand with your feet side by side, hip width apart. And if you're sitting, you don't need to sit too terribly tall, but find a space where you're not really leaning back, either on the back of your chair, something comfortable in the middle. Soften your joints. Close your eyes and let the sounds in, inside the walls, outside the windows. Rest your body while it is still active. Think of yourself as a tree, very sturdy, but perhaps those upper branches are still moving a bit with the wind. Find your breath and just notice it. You don't have to change anything about it. Just notice it. Remember it. Let it pour through your body, through things that feel really happy and joyful, things that feel painful or risky. And whenever you lose touch with your breath, if your mind wanders for a moment, I'm going to invite you to change your inhale in through your nose and out through your mouth. And do a couple more like that. You don't have to change anything about the pace of your breath. Pace it the way that feels nice to you, but we're all going to breathe in through our nose and out through your mouth. And as you breathe in, I want you to remember the earth below you, Breathe out and know that no matter how tall the building you're in, no matter whether your feet are bare on the grass, the earth is always below you. Breathe in and breathe out and drop your breath down into the molten core of the earth. Breathe in and bring it back up to the sky. Breathe out and let your eyes open. I incorporate breath work as much as possible, and that narrative that I just shared comes out different every time. It is just, sometimes I speaking of Hawaii and Roger's shirt, I was in Hawaii in January, and when I came back from that, I did a breath narrative like that had to do with volcanoes, so whatever you're feeling or experiencing at whatever moment, that's kind of, a place from which you can draw upon. I have a couple more pieces that we won't have time to listen all the way through today, but let me talk through a couple of them. And then I do want to hear one more before we're done. There's a piece, couple of pieces that I'm seeing your question about time, and I'm going to speak to that in a second too. There are a few pieces that, for me, middle school is about finding the pieces that carry a lot of meaning. They love to sing things that are meaningful. And also it's about finding just the right kind of meaningful. Do I know what that prescription is exactly? Not exactly. I couldn't define it for you in words, but I could tell you that these three pieces speak to it for me. One of them is Little Voice by Sarah Bareilles, of which there is a fantastic Audrey Snyder SAB arrangement. Another one is Mac Huff's arrangement of When I Grow Up and Naughty from the musical Matilda, which is just such a these are pieces that are just such a celebration of the young voice as an uplifted moment, that as an uplifted and special unit all its own. And I find so often when we're working with elementary and middle school singers, it's all about and we're on the path to high school. That's where the real choir stuff is happening. And it's so important to me to find a moment where we actually get to celebrate what we're doing here and now in this room. And so the pieces that give that same energy toward, oh, your voice is important. Your voice is the strong and celebrated moment in this moment. What came before was amazing. What's to come is amazing, but also let's be present here with this. So those pieces, Little Voice by Sarah Bareilles, again, Audrey Snyder's the arrangement. These are all present in your materials that you'll be able to reference. When I Grow Up and Naughty, arranged Mac Huff. You Will Be Found from Dear Evan Hansen, also a Mac Huff arrangement, of which there is an SAB available as well. And then finally, there's two pieces that I want to speak to. One is an original piece by Matt Pod. It's called In the Valley. It is an SSA, and it's probably a little bit more of an advanced middle school piece. And there's also an essay arrangement of Here Comes the Sun by Matt and Adam Pod that I also highly, highly recommend. With these pieces as well, the sort of push-pull of the looking away from the paper, looking at the paper, all of those skills that I spoke to before, those games of find what we're identifying in the valley. Let's just finish by hearing just a little bit of the beginning of In the Valley, if that's possible, Brittany, and that's what we will look at. So this piece I actually commissioned from Matt as for the Oklahoma Children's All-State a couple of years ago, as well as Here Comes the Sun. I asked Matt and Adam if they would write that arrangement for the ACDA East Children's Choir this year. And they're both pieces, again, that I think just hold so much power. And I want to say about that piece, that 10/8 feeling, that's a moment I would step away from the music. 'Tis a gift to be simple. 'Tis a gift to be free. That's all Matt has said, and he has said this so beautifully, and I now repeat it all the time. He was like, I put it in 10/8 because like I had to. But when I sat down at the piano, he first sent me a voice note of the idea he was having done it at the piano without thinking about the meter, just kind of in a little trance of it for a moment. And then he was like, right. He said, and what he said that was so beautiful that I want to share with all of you is music started off the page. It's in someone's head. It had to be put on the page and organized so that we are able to present it and bring it to and come together to sing it and all of those things. But it's our job to take it off the page again, which is where it started. So with the idea of saying, how calculated do we have to be about 10/8? As calculated as that composer might have sat at the piano and said, this lilt feels good. What a nice vibe that is. So I invite you to just kind of use all of these different ideas with your children, building a culture that just adds these items and tricks and tips and breath work and literacy just kind of into the spirit of and culture of your rehearsal, and they just become all part of the building blocks of everything that you're doing to eventually share the music that they're creating with an audience. But I just treasure so much all of the things that we get to do together with these young people, and I'm excited for all of you to continue your amazing work too. So thanks. I'm going to welcome the crew back to the screen.
That was great, Sophia.
That was wonderful.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I love just seeing everyone's response to
Stacey
the
will
music.
be back in a second. Yep.
Yeah.
Am I here?
She's there.
Great.
I hear her. You're live.
Good. I love seeing everybody's response to the music. And it's interesting and for us to see, how diverse your time is per week for teaching. Some of you have the fortune of having your students every day. Some of you have for just one day a week and everything else in between. So I just hats off to all of you for everything that you're able to do with the time that you're given. Sophia, I loved your presentation about the guided imagery and the wind and everything. And
I wanted to speak to thank you. And I wanted to just say quickly about the time that the way that I see it is that these are all like all of these sort of segments of different ideas. I think that everyone's time situation and rehearsal frequency and all that is so different. You kind of have to find what works for you. Sometimes that means just a couple minutes that one time a week. It might not mean every single rehearsal. And I recognize that there is a luxury of time that some people have in abundance and other folks don't. But it's just in suggestion and the spirit of saying, here's an idea. How can you kind of put it into the works for you?
Sure.
Well, and Sophia, I saw you working with the elementary honor choir at Eastern ACDA, and everyone, if you have a chance to see Sophia work with a bunch of young people in person, you owe it to yourself to do it, because it's really something remarkable. Because the time management and the classroom behaviors and the way she works through everything is literally something to behold. So make sure you do yourself a favor and do that.
Yep.
Thank you.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And I hope someday soon I get the opportunity to see you in person as well, Sophia. I've heard so many just wonderful, wonderful things about you. And I'm so glad you could take some time to be with us today.
Me too.
So,
thank you.
Well, our pleasures. My colleague, Luke Talen, our creative director, who's going to tell us a little bit about an exciting thing we have called ChoralMIX.
Yep, ChoralMIX and a couple other digital great things that I want you all to know about. History of the spectrum, blah, blah, blah. So in the interest of time, Brittany, why don't you go ahead and start that video that I have queued up so we can get that going. First of all, Roger and Sophia, of course, thank you for everything you've been doing so far in this webinar. And everyone, thanks for being here in the chat. let me know how you like to accompany your choirs. Just type it in there. Do you get an accompanist? Do you accompany it yourself from behind the piano? Do you purchase tracks? What's the way that you typically like to accompany your choirs? Okay, so the choral spectrum, I just wanted to show on our webpage how it is here. It's, of course, in a mailed format, which you should have gotten in the mail. And if you haven't, please drop us a line so we can get you on the list. But our online version I have shown for you on the presentation right here. All of the audio is on there. We've come a long way from cassettes in the mail. And you won't even believe this. We used to send records in the mail of choral spectrums and even CDs in 2008 and that kind of thing. So now they're all, of course, all online, all streaming, so you can hear it at your leisure and your will. So everything's organized, according to genre and, if it's top pop, if it's movies, if it's concert, and you can sort by that and easily get to it. I also want to make mention, of course, of the Choral Expressions catalog, which is our Shawnee Press catalog curated by Greg Gilpin out of Indiana. He's absolutely a fantastic educator, and he curates his 30 pieces per year so beautifully well, super suited for middle school. Great, and I see lots of good chat going. When you're in this page for the spectrum, please note that when you click on that little drop down arrow, or it's a drop up arrow, you're able to see exactly what voices are available to you. So even if you see a voicing that's not necessarily made for middle school, if you click on that, you'll be able to see what's available. And yes, I wanted to reintroduce, amongst other things, our ChoralMIX lessons. So, this came born out of recording in isolation with the pandemic, and the video for Roger's Hallelujah is going to play here in just a second. I'll kind of talk over it. We aim to have ChoralMIX available for every one of our chorals. And I'm going to kind of let it play here so you can see what we're doing with our audio recordings. You're able to mute and bring things in whenever you'd like. Thanks for turning the volume down a little bit, Brittany. So you can mute and put things up at real time. And I introduced this feature and this ChoralMIX last year, but I just wanted to reintroduce it and get everyone on board with it because we want to expand this greatly and use this for learning tracks. When we go to trade shows, we always get people who say, I don't have time to make learning tracks for my choir. This is a product that we're aiming to use and help you out with learning track potential. Roger's been recording with his best buddy, Alan Billingsley, for years, and they use these session musicians. In LA, we have studios in Nashville and Indianapolis and beyond, and these singers are absolutely fantastic. Pick these chorals up in just an easy format. And so ChoralMIX is what we've developed to help, get these learning tracks in a real-time format. You're able to change tempos. You're able to set loops. You're able to do whatever you'd like. We've priced it very affordably in the $35 to $40 range for everyone. And we have a landing page available. It's just halleonard.com/ChoralMIX. I wanted to reintroduce it and tell you about the landing page because everything since the pandemic has now been recorded in this manner. So we're able to put together these ChoralMIX lessons and sell them to you like this so you can use them. Because up until then, it was just, it was a demo recording. How useful was it? And now it's very useful. And I want to show you how to get it along with all the other audio. So on a product page, you can see ChoralMIX listed in its own line listing at the bottom of the page. That's how you would purchase it. It's just like an a la carte purchase, just like anything else that you would do. So when you add it to your cart, it automatically sends you a code, which it auto-populates into My Library. My Library is where you get everything cloud-based that you purchase from Hal Leonard. So whether you got digital books, or you got digital lessons or anything, it all populates in your My Library. And when you're in My Library, you'll see all the choral mixes that you've purchased or any audio from like one of Roger's many collections. And when you click share access, that's when the magic happens. That's when you're able to share it to all members of your choir. And you could share it to up to, I think it's like 125 or 150 members of your choir. And you're able to track when they log in, when they last logged in. It's all COPA compliant. So we don't collect any emails or addresses. No one needs to enter in anything if they're under 18. There is a question about JW Pepper, if they'd have access to it. We're working with JW Pepper directly on getting this available. Roger's got a great new resource called PopStacks coming out, which is going to use ChoralMIX exclusively, and Pepper's really excited about it. So we're going to make sure that you'll be able to do that. In fact, it's on the back of the spectrum here, Pop Harmony Stacks. And that's based on building, the Grace Kelly challenge. I could be brown, I could be blue, I could be violet sky, I could be purple. And you just build harmonies based on that. It's going to be a great resource. We're very excited about it. Yes, Roger mentioned also in the chat the Discovery series is perfectly tailored to middle school. I just wanted to show you this landing page. I think Stacy put the landing URL in the chat. It's just Discovery Choral. This is all middle school focused in mind, so this is all the ranges that are appropriate for those voices. This is all literature that's been selected by Audrey Snyder, who leads the team here. It's all appropriate for middle school thematically, musically, voicingly, if that's a word. So the Discovery series is your very best friend, and all of these come with part predominant tracks, and they'll also have ChoralMIX as well. Now, I saw a couple people in the chat mentioning, where can I find music, or where do I download it if I'm getting an accompaniment track? On our product page, here's a new one from Roger. This is Beautiful Creatures. On our product page, below the score play video, you're going to see the product family, right? So every voicing that's available is going to be in a line, and then whatever parts are available are below. Now, this is where all of your options are available to you. So this little array of grids, you can add it to your cart. You can add a choral to your wish list. Whatever video we have available will be attached. Closer look will show you like the first 2 pages plus an audio sample. But these last 2 buttons, these are the big ones, okay? So the music note will take you to the digital score. The music note will take you directly to Sheet Music Direct. And Sheet Music Direct is where we sell the digital versions of all of our scores. There it is. Add it to cart, great. Free access if you've got a Sheet Music Plus subscription, great. All of that stuff lives in Sheet Music Direct. And so for the rhythm parts too, or the combo parts or string parts, if you click on that little download music note button, it'll take you directly to the purchase and download page. So any parts you want to buy separately or all together, add it to the cart. You've got players for it. Boom, you're ready to go. Now the last one, that's where the audio lives. And if you scroll over it or hover over it, it says audio download. And when you click on that, you're going to get taken exactly to what audio is available for that choral. So in this case, it's the accompaniment only track and the full performance track. So if you've hovered over those and maybe not known what to do, that's what it is. The digital versions of that choral are there, the PDF and the audio. Another genesis of ChoralMIX was our score play channel, which is where we put up these videos for perusal. And this has been a great hit. I think we started the program in 2015 or something. So we're up to hundreds of thousands of videos. Many of them have reached 1 million views, and students love to watch them because they love to learn their parts. So we'll put up any choral that we have, in print. It has audio ready to go. And when you click on it, of course, you're going to see the full perusal of the score. This is a new one from Roger from Rio 2, which is an old movie, but the song itself, oh my gosh, this is a good one, so please check it out. In the video description of every video will be 2 purchase links. The first link is going to take you to where you want to buy the Octavo PDF itself. And the second link will take you to any digital assets that are available, whether that be the PDF or the audio. One last thing I want to mention, and this question we get all the time. You're going to love it. Why doesn't the audio match the video that I'm playing? Why do I hear different voices if this is an SSA video, but I hear voices like an SATV? In a perfect world with perfect amount of space, time, money, man, I would love to record. We would love to record every single version of every choral available to us and get it all up. But, it takes a village to record these things. You got recording producers, contractors, singers, and so it's not feasible for us to do it. So we put up all the scores with a disclaimer that says what the audio is that you're actually hearing, but we want you to be able to view the full score. So that's why we have videos up. with audio that may not match, so you can at least hear the music that you're going to be purchasing, and you can at least hear what you're going to be singing. So that's a couple of people in chat were also mentioning, where is this audio? This is where it's at. Okay. And when you bring it, Brittany, you can bring everyone back at this point, because I think we're a little over time if we want to do Q&A. That's where the audio lives. I just wanted to give a short rundown of how that all worked, because we often get questions of that, including from people who work for Hal Leonard people who are like, where's my audio for this? I'm like, hey, this is where it is. And I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page with that. So
it is great to be able to see the other voicings, though. Particularly, oftentimes it's SATB, but you can see where the lines go, the ranges, and the voice leading, and it's really helpful to be able to see the two-part and the SSA and the SAB. Yep. So even if we can't hear the exact audio.
So we are going a little bit over, and we want to be respectful of your time. So if you would like to stick around with us a little bit longer, we're happy to go through the questions and answers. And if you need to be on your way, we wholeheartedly understand. And we are just grateful that you spent the last hour with us. And it's our hope and desire that you have been able to find some new ideas or inspiration or teaching tips or new music to try, new warm-ups.
It is happy hour in the Midwest and the East.
It is.
Oh, yeah, there he goes.
Not in California yet, but soon.
but we know that we
just
can't
water
do,
here, just water.
We can't do what we do without you. So we are heartfully very grateful and just are so appreciative of what you do for your students every single day. So with that, I'm going to move over to a few quick Q&As. Hopefully we can get to all these relatively quickly. For the group here from Amanda, how do you get those 6th to 8th graders to actually sing? I was the accompanist for that age group last year, and most of the time, the majority refused to sing at all or sang so quietly you could barely hear them.
Who's taking this one? Roger, you got it?
Well, I realize honor choirs are a little different beast. I think the single biggest issue is that if it's we have either, select ensembles, we have the you all come choirs, then we have the you all have to come choir. And quite frankly, I think that's a real problem. It's particularly for boys, that if they're uncomfortable singing, one bad apple can sort of spoil the whole bunch there. Also, ideally at the middle school level, if you can divide soprano, altos, and tenor basses, 2 separate ensembles, it changes the whole dynamic. But again, for me, if because I think this person is probably talking about a non-select and maybe kids put in there that didn't request the class. For me, I would morph into it being, I want to say more general music, and then start a choir before school, after school, lunch of kids who want to be there. I think that it's a flawed concept. I know some people have managed to get those kids singing, and I think that's great. The other thing you can do is always, I would give a disclaimer. Okay, I know some of you don't want to be here. I will do this. First of all, I promise not to make you sing by yourself. I promise to never embarrass you. I promise that 2 weeks before the concert, if you're still uncomfortable, I'll give you an alternate assignment. That's sort of a way to take some of that pressure off of, I got to stand here, because it's like being naked. If you got a horn, you can blame the horn. You can't when you're singing. So I
used to teach at the Wisconsin Conservatory of Music, and I would just go into classrooms. I mean, I was at 5 different schools a day, just going in and trying to be engaged and trying to reach kids who I only see once per week. And what worked for me was sort of a rapid fire progression of different things that maybe they were not accustomed to, like a movement thing or a song that they had never heard of before. And I moved from one thing to the next because I only had 50 minutes with them. And it was really difficult. But using, that speed of you don't even know what hit them. And it's just, that's what worked for me when I was doing that kind of choir. So that's how I did it.
And finding those ways, it's all of those routines that you're starting from day one. That's kind of like you're moving through it and making it so much a part of just who you are and what you're doing in that space that they kind of don't even realize it. There's a great Rob Dietz is a stunning arranger, does a lot of a cappella work, but he has some really amazing warm-ups that he, he'll take a choir through the chorus of Hey Jude. There's nothing more fun. It's just so much fun. And you can't not like wail out Hey Jude. So even if you are finding a place where you're like, oh, okay, great. Let's tone that down. Well, wouldn't you rather find a way to tone it down than have to beg for it to come out? So maybe Hey Jude is your gateway to more singing, or maybe something similar that, they can grasp that just feels like, oh, how could I not sing this? It's so much fun.
It's like that na na hey hey goodbye. Just
Yeah,
chant it.
something in the zeitgeist.
Just like
everyone
a
knows.
basketball game. You
Yeah, right.
Win them all over. Ideally. So.
Couple of general
Building
ChoralMIX,
trust,
couple of general ChoralMIX questions, and hopefully these can be relatively quick answers. Someone is asking if they are able to print the octavo via ChoralMIX.
No, it's a streaming only platform. So when you get the link, it's only available in your browser. So yes, you do have to have an internet connection, but it's all streaming, and that's partially due to royalties and copyrights and that kind of thing. So everything's secure. You're not allowed or supposed to print from it. So it's a streaming only platform. Good question though.
Good. Another question here. Can you share access with your students? And
yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Up to 150 students or something. Yep. And I think you can import mass, like if you have a Google Classroom list or something, you can just import those email addresses right away. It auto-generates usernames to every member of your choir, and they all get a dedicated link. So it's very easy to share with your choir.
Cool.
One more quick question about ChoralMIX. The accompaniment track is separate from the ChoralMIX, correct? So if I need the track, it would need to be purchased separately? ?
That is correct. Yes. Once again, ChoralMIX is streaming only, and then, we get questions like that a lot. Like, can you do this? Can you be somewhat sneak? And we want to pay, the people who create the products accordingly. And we have got royalties to pay in favored nations, and we got people who take care of these songs, and we want to provide it to you. So ChoralMIX is a learning tool, and then if you perform the thing in a choir, we ask that you purchase the accompaniment track and use that, because that's a tangible one. You can buy the CD, or you can download the MP3, and then it's yours.
Cool. And then finally, one last question. When you purchase, do you have it forever?
Yeah, you do. You do. As long as the internet is still a thing. So when the apocalypse comes, then you're out of luck. But
you might be on your own, folks. But
yeah, right now you're good.
Excellent. All right. Well, again, I just thank everybody so much. My colleague Luke Talen, our behind the scenes Brittany Ball and Melissa Hardkey, and our special guests Roger Emerson, Sophia Miller, and to all of you once again for taking your time and to spend it with us. And have a delightful, pleasant evening, everyone.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks everyone for being here.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a good one.